There you go, Galen. Perfect.
Yeah. I forgive my dog. She's 16. She's going to go in and out about 5 times.
No problem.
Allowed. So I think we want to wait for Gene. We're still a few minutes early.
While we're waiting for Gene, I'm going to put some coffee in the pot, so I'll be right back.
No problem. I'll take milk in mine. We have two Nick Contis on the screen there.
One is more than enough.
Yeah.
And you don't look the same.
Yeah. I don't know why mine is showing up as Nick Conti, but I'm Mike Mazzarella, for those of you I haven't met yet, with Gilbane.
Nice to meet you, Mike. You're much better looking than Nick. Better
He's
looking
here.
and younger.
Good to meet you, Bill.
Nice meeting you. So what do you think, Gene? Let's wait for Galen to jump back in. We'll wait for Gene a few more minutes.
Okay. Did you text her, Bill?
I did not.
Okay.
I will. So
Sometimes she needs a
reminder. Let me.
Sometimes
Somebody
I-
texted me. Oh, that was Felicia. Gene.
I'm here. I'm just getting the kids ready for school.
Thank you, Felicia. Oh. So I say we start without her and she can catch up if you guys are okay with that. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mark and he will introduce, well, we might as well introduce everybody, right? So go ahead, Mark.
Okay. Obviously, Mark Schweitzer with Colliers. At the last building committee meeting, the town hired Gilbane. So on the line, we have the project exec for Gilbane, Nick Conti, and I'll turn it over to Nick to introduce his team.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So with me is Mike Mazzarella, who on the screen here is Nick Connett, but Mike is our project manager and will be for this project.
Nice to meet you all.
And we'll be, well, just to give you a brief update. We have a page turn tomorrow with Gilbane and BL, and we'll have the Mike and Mike show also. They have two estimators named Mike Perrant, and I'm going to screw his last name up.
So I should introduce them too, even though they're not on the call. Mike Parent is our chief estimator in Connecticut, and then Mike Bonin Contra is also an estimator, mostly on the architectural side. So they'll both be at the page turn tomorrow, but they're not on the call today.
So you'll be seeing emails from both of them coming up. With that,
So
I'll
we
turn
should call the meeting to order. I think
Yep.
just a little formality. Jean texted me back and said she's not going to be able to make it. So Emily, or who's second in command? Did we say Galen was? I can't remember.
I think Emily is.
Galen loves volunteering me.
Yes.
I'm happy to call the meeting to order at 8:05.
Thank you, Emily.
Should we first just see if there's any public comment before we get back in the swing of things?
Yes,
Great.
there's none.
Okay, thank you, Raquel.
And then approval of minutes for April 10th.
Do we want to go ahead and do that now, Galen, or should we wait till the next meeting? Does it matter?
We could table them for the next meeting.
Okay.
I wasn't at the last one, so I'd probably abstain
Oh.
from voting anyways.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Let's
Okay.
table that one.
Yeah.
Okay, any old business? All right, let's get right back into it. Thanks, Bill. So do you want me to just go through the agenda, or do you want to continue with the intros as we are doing?
So why don't we continue the intro so you know who's at the table?
Yep.
So Nick, were you done when you're introducing your team?
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
jump over to the rest of the team that's here. Bob, you want to lead off?
Sure. Bob Banning, principal at Silver Petroselli and Associates, head of our engineering group. I thought Ken Eldridge was joining me, but looks like he's not here yet. He must be tied up. So it's just me from Silver Petroselli today.
All right. Did I miss anybody else? I don't see anybody from BL Company. So we were going to talk about Polson. So I guess we won't do that. So why don't we jump, if you're okay with it? We can approve some bills, Raquel, or let's jump to Bob. Bob, you want to give a quick presentation so then we can move on and you could bail out.
Okay, that's fine. I guess not being totally familiar, not knowing if everyone on the screen is familiar with the scope of our project. We are replacing 9 rooftop units at Daniel Hand. It's effectively a 1-for-1 replacement, so a fairly straightforward project. I can certainly share my screen if you'd like, just to quickly flip through those pages. If I can find it. Where did they go?
And just so for those of you so Galen and I both are on the Board of Education. I also serve on the Facilities Committee. So that's the knowledge that Galen and I bring. Galen, you were on the Facilities Committee and then you moved over to, yeah. So
Yeah.
we're fairly familiar in particular with the rooftop units, one of Bill's favorite things to talk about.
Yes, thank you. So Bob, I neglected to introduce the 2 board members that are here, the committee members, Emily and Galen. They're both, as she said, on the Board of Ed, and they've been working with me on the town for school facilities for many years. The chairman, who can't make it today, she's on the Board of Finance and was a former Board of Ed member as well. So we have 3 board members. I'm also telling Nick and his team that too. We have a very small building committee. They make decisions very quickly, and they just look for the high level overview. And they expect us to give them the details if needed, and for enough for them to make decisions. So, and looking for our recommendations. So thanks, Bob. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No worries. So it looks like the cover sheet wasn't attached to this PDF that I opened, but regardless, the front sheet with legend, we do note the requirement for rebalancing these systems once the replacements are complete. You can see the key plan down here. So we've got the multiple building areas. This first area replacing 3 rooftop units, calling for a new curb, That's as opposed, we're, if I remember correctly, Bill, we are looking to not use curb adapters here because of a concern with raising the height of the units. If I remember correctly. So that's the second area. Again, pretty much identical scope for all 9 of these rooftop units. We had spent a little time looking to see if we could help Bill find a repair solution temporarily, knowing that these rooftop units will have a little bit of lead time to obtain. And I don't think we found anything really good for you there, Bill, unfortunately. But
Appreciate the efforts. So
Yeah.
the time frame and I think the building committee just looking for a time frame and what the expectations on when you're, when we're going to be out to bid and when we hope to award. And those are the sort of summaries that we're looking for.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we are really at this point, the drawings and specs are complete. I don't know whether there's any, is there any official review or approval process we need on your end, or do we just, wrap up the front end, to roll in dates for pre-bid meetings, et cetera, and off we go? I guess I'm a little curious about the process.
Yes. So Peter and I will review it with Felicia's input. We're the final approval. The building committee, I don't think normally takes an official blessing of the plans. They expect us to do that. Anybody disagree with that, Emily or Galen?
Nope, that sounds perfect to me. I agree.
Yeah, so we just offline, we'll go over the details, any concerns we have. I think they're looking for the time frame. They will be making the recommendation on the award. They normally don't get, they may or may not get involved in the interviewing. It's up to us to make that recommendation, and then they can decide if they want to get involved in interviewing the firms. But most likely we'll make the recommendation and they will make the recommendation award, and it'll be officially awarded by the Board of Selectmen. So.
Okay. All right. So Bill, should we get you just the latest electronic set of documents? Do you want something printed or?
No, electronically to Peter and I and Felicia. And then we'll work with you offline to put the details together on the specs in the front end and whatever else you need.
Right.
That's where, that's, and our expectations are, tell me again when they're going to go out.
I mean, I would say that the crew can send you the latest documents today. I don't know. Typically, we see a front end, some of the front end documents from you guys to coordinate with, but we could work that either way. We could send you our Division 1 specs for you to attach, or if you've got a typical head end that you've used recently, we're happy to take that and take the first stab at modifying it.
Hey, it's Felicia. I think if you send us your Division 1, and then we should have Division 1 specs that you created for the Polson project that you can meld into that. But I don't think we have anything too detailed or official, so we'd be looking to piggyback on your Division 1 specs. Correct, Bill?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So why don't we shoot for trying to get that stuff out and together by the end of next week? Is that reasonable?
Absolutely. Yep.
So at the next building committee, hopefully we'll have an updated on, when we get them, proposing to have them back and, the walkthrough and the schedule. We'll have the specs completed and out by your next building committee meeting. And we'll update the building committee at that time. Does that make sense?
Works on my end for sure.
Thank you, Bob. Felicia, anything to add on that?
Nope, that's good.
Peter?
No, I just had a question about controls, but I think we'll talk about that internally.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Bob. If you don't have anything else to add, we appreciate your time, and we'll jump back to the other project. You're more than welcome to stay on if you'd like, but I know that you have, other than your professional curiosity, I'm sure you have other time.
Yeah, I think I'll bow out. Thanks for bumping me up in the agenda. You guys have a great day.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
Oh, sorry, I have to stop sharing for you here.
No, that's perfect. All right. I was sort of killing time. I was thinking that the BL company would join us, and that's one of the reasons I asked to switch it around.
Yeah, the whole time I've been trying to call.
That's what I figured. That's why I jumped in and sort of drove the ship. So, since we don't have the BL company and they submitted the plans and they were going to give us a brief overview. And I know that, we could generally say that they, put the plans together. Nick, have you had a chance to look at the plans? Did we send them to you?
Yes, yeah, we have them. Both of our estimators, Mike and Mike, are working on it as of about yesterday afternoon. On the schedule that was issued in the RFP, I want to say that the reconciliation date, Mark, was tagged to May 30th or May 31st. We should be good for that. They should be wrapped up by the 29th and have the estimate out for everyone to take a look at before we reconcile. Is there a third-party estimator, Mark?
There is not.
Okay.
So Nick, just to help the building committee understand what you're talking about, you're talking construction language. So
Sorry.
maybe we'll step it back a notch. So we had the design development plans have been finished. Nick and his team are going to review them and consolidate their notes with the architect to have an agreed upon number. Is that what we think is the estimated price for the project? Is that agreed?
Correct. Yeah. So Mark, the BL is going to put their own number together.
I don't believe so. When we talked about it with Jesse about a month ago, he said that they do not have an estimate on it. They do
Okay.
have a control budget. So
Okay.
So
Yes.
yeah, what Gilbane's doing right now is going through doing the estimate for it. They're also looking at constructability. So we'll sit down at the reconciliation meeting and basically go over scope, make sure that what Gilbane is seeing. Well, we basically test the drawings, not only on constructability but on the estimate also. That way, what is being shown on the drawings is what is being estimated, and vice versa. Making sure that what isn't on the plans in the DD set is going to make it on the construction design drawings. So it's a big meeting to have because we do review the scope of the drawings and the condition of the drawings, and we also review the cost estimate, which is probably more near and dear to the town. But if we can't build it, it's going to cost us more in the long run.
So thank you for the overview. So I'm just going to point out the fact that June 4th is when we should be getting back together with the building committee to review the costs and the estimates. That's the big deal because we have a budget. We'll find out now if the budget's, within our tolerance or outside our tolerance. So that's going to be the big pressure point. That's a key issue, this cost of the project. And, the second one is the construction and the ability to construct while the kids are in school. So we might have to step back after we look at the cost and then figure out the phasing. So it's not a simple process. The beginning of the work, and that's why we have Nick and his team on, is key to this. How much is it going to cost and how can we build it? So the building committee, and we will work with the school as well to, see what makes sense. So I guess that's really the point of the meeting today is I wanted to do a brief overview of the project, have Nick talk to you about what his team is getting involved in, and then where the building committee is going to have to make their hard decisions. Are we going to say, cut the scope? Exaggerating if it's, if the price is too much, we're going to be right on. If it goes well, we'll be right on. We'll go forward. It'll be perfect. Never perfect. There's going to be questions and answers and things to look at. And now's when the time is going to happen. So the 4th, I think, is a big meeting. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that the building committee knew that in the schedule and what we're looking for them.
Yeah. And we have a page turn session tomorrow morning, right, Mark? With BL. Those are super helpful. Those don't happen on every job, and it helps expedite the process in terms of getting estimate completed and then reviewed with everyone and reconcile. Nothing worse than getting to the estimate reconciliation after the estimates are done and we're going back and forth on what should and shouldn't be in the estimate. So tomorrow should flush out a lot of those questions that we'll have. This stage of the design development in terms of estimating and where we go from here is really the most critical. It's where we have enough definition in the drawings, enough details in the drawings, enough information, but we're not so far down the road that these are bid documents. Once we get to bid documents, you know, our ability to influence the cost of the work and the nature of the project is extremely limited. Now is the time where we have that opportunity to do that. So start with the page turn tomorrow. Our estimators, as Bill and Mark said, will continue through the week of the 27th. And then in the meantime, Mike and I will be putting together as we go through the plans, what we think is the best approach in terms of phasing and logistics, as Bill mentioned, to do this well.
Hey, it's Felicia. I just wanted to ask sort of a strategy question. I know it's still sort of up in the air, the phasing of it. You know, if we do it all at once, if we do it while the kids are in school, is that something we can take a high level look at cost wise to help sort of educate the building committee about which way, you know, they would recommend the project going to the Board of Ed? Or is that something we want to look at later? Just kind of thinking about all aspects of the project.
Yeah,
not just building it.
Yeah, great question. So as Mike and I start to get into the phasing and logistics, we kind of look at it from two vantage points. One is what's the most expeditious way to build this, and that's usually the most cost-effective way. And then the other is how do we build this and have the least amount of impact? And by impact, I don't just mean noise during the school day, but also how much does the school operation have to shift, right? How much do they have to alter what they do day in and day out to accommodate the construction, which is something we try to avoid as much as possible. But in doing that, oftentimes it increases the cost. So we try and find that balance. So we will definitely present to your question, Felicia, our approach based on what we think is the least impactful, probably the more expensive option. And then also, hey, we may be able to do it this way. And we think the savings is in this range if we were able to do this.
So thank you, Felicia. Thank you, Nick. I think that those are key points. And once again, probably the crucial success of this project is how we can phase it, the impact of the school and the impact of the students and staff. Peter and I have been talking about it a lot. We've already preliminarily met with the principal in the schools about their tolerance. And that we're ready for the next phase. Let's look at the plans. Let's have Nick's input. Then we're going to meet with the school and see if it's tolerant. I don't think that we want to propose something that the school can't handle. So it's going to be a fine line between what the building committee wants to recommend, especially since they're Board of Ed members as well, that would conflict with what the school wants. So I think that's the crucial part of this job. Thank you, Felicia. Anything else, Felicia?
Not that I can think of.
Thank you. So Nick, anything else from you about the plans? Anything you want to talk about the plans or overview of anything?
No. Quick question. Mike and I flipped through them yesterday. Without getting, I don't want to get it. There's a number of questions and things we'll, like I said, we'll talk about tomorrow at the page turn. But the one that jumped out the most, and it was an issue that appeared to sort of be out there, if you will, in the schematic design set of the feasibility study, and that was whether or not fire protections, a fully sprinklered building is required. It's not now. There was a question about it, or there was maybe some uncertainty in the documents that were issued from the feasibility study. On the code sheet of this DD set, Mark, it does call for a fully sprinklered building, but there are no fire protection drawings.
So there's no fire protection that was ever called for in this building. We always talked about that topic, and we actually met with the building department and the fire marshal, and it was our understanding that there was no fire suppression system at all required. We're replacing in kind, and we're not changing anything, so it was not required. Now, if something changed or the codes changed since we originally did the design, we could always talk about that. There was mention about a water line going to the auditorium back in the 90s for some reason, the standpipe. I didn't really understand what that was. And a pricing for, I think, increasing the water service, but never a suppression system or anything other than that. And I think that other piece has gone by the wayside. I don't think that's
good news. Yeah, so that'll be something to talk about tomorrow. Make sure we're all on the same page there.
Yes, because that was never part of the budget and never part of the plans. So if there's a problem or a conflict, and you know better than I do how regulatory things change, and you do something that causes us something else, and so we need to constantly review that. If there's nothing else
Can I just,
yes,
I'd just love to hear a little bit more about the page turn. Like, could you just tell me more about what that entails? It seems like a pretty critical meeting tomorrow. I'm just curious to hear what it entails.
sure. Nick, you wanna explain it a little better? You want me to?
So we sit down with the design team and with the owner, obviously, so Bill and Peter and Felicia, assuming they'll be there. And the design team essentially walks us through, the overall approach of how they came up with the design. They go through each discipline, whether it's mechanical, electrical, plumbing, the architectural components that are part of the auditorium upgrades. And then, they walk through those in detail. We literally look at every page, and we'll have some questions from our end as we go through the drawings of, hey, the way that the rooftop unit is shown in this detail seems to be a little different from this other detail, or we typically see X. So can we do that? We think it's cheaper. And then there's, usually some homework items, if you will, that come out of that meeting where, we're running down other options in terms of cost and what we think the savings might be if we were to do something differently, or the increase if we were to do something differently. And then the design team usually takes a look at those as well and says, yeah, we're not comfortable changing this detail. We want to keep it the way it is in the drawings. But it's really to make sure that the scope for a design development set, which is not a complete set of documents, right? It's that we're all on the same page with that scope, because at this stage, there's a fair amount of gray area there.
Yeah.
Especially
Especially
really bringing the team together, the design team, the construction management firm, the owners. So we're all on the same page when they say, hey, how come you built this doesn't make any sense? And we say, well, we asked them to because, oh, that's a great idea, Nick. You just put one in that's similar. Well, then we're good with that. That's a great idea. We had no reason to put this one in. We just thought it was a good idea. Your idea is much better. It saves us $100. Let's do that.
Okay.
So it's a really good process, and I think it's key to a complicated project like this. For example, the rooftop units, we're not going to do it at the high school because they're taking the old ones off and putting the new ones on. I don't think, we have a lot of details that we want to go over about how we're going to put them on and off. The curbing, we talked about that specifically. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, it sounds really helpful. Thank you.
Great. Anything else from Nick and his team? So appreciate your time, Nick. We're going to spend a few minutes going over some bills and stuff. You're more than welcome to hang on. But if you have other things to do, you're more than welcome to bail on us.
Okay. Yeah. If there's nothing else, then we'll hop off. If there is anything that you think might come up, we're happy to stay on. Up to you.
I think we're good. Unless there's a public. Is there any public, Raquel?
No.
All right. So there's no public. Did anybody from the building committee or Peter, anybody have anything for Nick and his team?
Not for me.
I'll see you
Thanks.
tomorrow.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Bob.
Sounds good.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
All right. So I think we're on approving the invoice. Thank you, Raquel, I assume that was Raquel who brought those up. So we need the building committee to make a motion to approve these bills.
Do we approve them one at a time, Bill? It's not like the consent agenda, right? Is it one at a time?
You can approve them all as written in the agenda, I think. Silva Petrocelli for $4,000. BL Company for $73,795, and professional services. There's no number. Oh, for $133,855. So that's BL Company has two invoices, one for $73,795, one for $133,855, and the Silva Petrocelli one for $4,000. Little difference in pricing there, huh?
Yeah, could you briefly describe the BL invoices?
Sure. you know, you can see the design services that they have the DD plans. You know, they've been out there doing the investigation. They've had a team of engineers and professional services out there for the last, 2 months. So you can see why there's a significant difference in their price. Silver Petrocelli had already basically completed the plans, a month ago. So it's a significant amount of work to do the design, and that's basically what it is, the design professional services. And because we sort of didn't meet in March, it was your March bill and then now the April bill. It was really 2 months worth.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to approve the invoices as stated in the agenda.
So
4,000.
moved.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry. That's why
Okay.
you run these things.
$4,000 to Silver Petrocelli for DHHS RTU replacement design development, and then 2 separate invoices to BL companies. The first $73,795, and the second $133,855, both for professional services from February through April.
So moved.
Okay, I guess I'll second that.
All right.
Any other questions or comments, Galen?
None for me.
Okay, none for me either. So in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's it.
So, do you have any questions of us? I mean, I think the real work is going to start heating up for you guys.
Yeah.
And that's the point I wanted to make today.
Yeah.
The plans are going to be, they're done. They're the design developer, not the final plans, but, the cost is going to be key. And then once we get past that, the phasing, which is going to make or break the project, Both of those are two, I don't think one's more important than the other. We don't have the money, that's a problem. But if we can't figure out the phasing, that's going to affect the money.
When does,
Phasing will drive costs too.
yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you for pointing that specific. It's in my head. Peter and I have been talking about the phasing could kill us on the cost. So that's a key point. The phasing and the cost are too tangled together very tightly. Sorry, Emily.
That's okay. When does that decision need to be made? Like, when do we need to say, this is the schedule?
Good question. And the answer is not simple, but if we want to do stuff for next year, next summer, if we want to start next summer, we need to finalize the plans this summer and bid it for the fall. Those rooftop units that we're doing for the high school, we're bidding out next week to try to get for next summer. These units might not be as time sensitive, but we need to bid it in the fall.
Yeah.
So if we can't make a decision this summer and have the plans designed and finished and phased by the fall and bid out, we're talking about putting it off another year, and time is money. So
Right.
I think that we need to move very quickly. I think that we're going to have a summer of making hard decisions, and the BL company is going to have to, finish the plans and get them out to bid. And we're going to have, I can't say anymore how important the phasing and the cost are going to be tied together. And we're going to need the school and the superintendent and the Board of Ed's involvement.
Yeah.
And that's why it's great that you're part of the building committee, because you'll be double dipping here. You'll do both at the same time. The building committee sort of knowing, so we don't have a lot of learning curve on that, but we'll have to bring it back to the Board of Ed if it affects the school in any way, which it will.
So I'm thinking a couple things about that. First, hoping that, we might need to meet more frequently than once a month over the summer.
Yes.
And when the time is appropriate to bring in Dr. Cook or Mrs. Hart or other folks to the meetings. I know they're obviously part of these discussions already, but it might be nice to have that one of these committee meetings. And then my third thought is the board does not meet that frequently over the summer, right, Galen?
It's correct. Maybe 2 meetings, like one in July, maybe one late August. So it's not frequent.
Yeah. So I think we need to coordinate, we need to keep that in mind. I mean, we could always have a special, but does the Board of Education need to take action, or is it more about an informational meeting, notifying the board?
I think that they should probably, I think they need to take action and see the plans and agree that we're, because it's going to affect the school. I don't
Yeah.
know if there's any formal reason to, but I think there should be. We should
Yeah.
present the plans. I think that we'll have it all worked out with the school principal and the administration before we bring it to the Board of Ed, that we're not
Yeah.
going to propose something that, that there's going to be some disruption. They're trying to quantify the best for the school. So the short answer is I think that we should go to the Board of Ed. I don't know if it's required. I'm not
Okay.
sure about that, but I think it's a should do.
Yeah. I agree. And especially if we're like moving significantly portions of students. Absolutely. So I just think we just need to keep in mind this schedule of board meetings over the summer.
Thank you for that heads up. We'll definitely plan that because I still think that we could, I think it's very feasible. Once we have Nick and his team on board, I think this end of this month, all of June, we should have a good plan before the summer. And, the summer starts on the 12th, so we won't have it before the summer, but we'll have it before July. And I think we'll have input from the principal. She knows it's coming. We'll reach out with her and tell her it's coming. And, I think we're going to have to make some hard decisions. And if we decide to push it off, the page turning is a big deal. The estimate's a big deal. And they're supposed to have all that by the end of this month.
Good. Yeah, I think the sooner the better. And I'm totally in support of meeting more frequently as needed over the summer to get this cracking and approved as soon as possible. So
we appreciate your efforts on that. And I think June 4th, we'll definitely have a schedule, a plan, what we think we need to do to get there. And we'll meet with Nick and his team, and BL Company. I'm a little disappointed that BL Company or something must have happened and they, it happens. They couldn't make the meeting. Was it crucial today? No, it was just not. It would have been nice for them to go over the plans. But what's not crucial? What's crucial is the page turning, the estimate, and the schedule, and the impact on the school. Anything to add, Mark?
No, that's it. The Board of Ed may not need to meet. The late August, early September is probably when we'll need a true decision. Well, approval. I agree with Bill. I don't think it affects educational programs, so they'll need to be on board with it. And the more stakeholders you have on board, the better. To go into a project confrontational. In a phase construction never goes well.
No, I totally agree. And we have, Bill has brought up these issues at our school facilities committee meetings. So I have been reporting out to the full board that this is a topic of conversation. So I do think the board is aware that this is a big decision to be made. But I think the more information updates that we provide, the better, especially if it's going to be disruptive to the students. So
one of the key things is, Felicia, if she'd like to speak about it, she can, is we're going for a grant or a school construction reimbursement. I always forget the right terms on that. But part of the reason is we have the building committee for that reason. And that's something we'll bring to the Board of Ed as well. And the deadline for that application isn't until, November. But that's part of the process and the official approval. And we got to get our ducks in a row to get that funding in place. So that's
Bill,
another.
if
Go ahead,
you
Felicia.
wanted me to just briefly lay it out. So the deadline for that is December 31st. We're going for both schools. We believe that both schools qualify. And what needs to happen is every project needs to be fully costed out and committed to by the town, so that the state can see that the additional funding that they are not provided is provided, and that is going to be provided. So we're going to need to get these out to bid, fully bought up, fully cost estimated, all of that, before we can package together. So that's why we're pushing up against that October deadline, because we need to do our work and get it voted on, past all the committees and everything on paper, officially voted on before we can even submit the grant application.
Thank you, Felicia. So that's a crucial thing, but we have
Yeah.
plenty of time for that. And the estimates will be done. And then, we'll have those in the next month. So we can then start the process and get the official approval, but there's going to be a lot of questions that we have, in between there. Thank you, Felicia. Anybody else have anything to add?
I just think when we do bring it back to the board, whenever, late summer, to have some sort of timeline or Gantt chart with these, obviously that'll be part of the process, but I think that'll be really helpful, and including like what Felicia was saying too about grants.
That will be our goal for our, we'll have a preliminary plan for you guys to review before we do anything at the fourth meeting. That will be one of our, tasks. So anything else, Galen?
No, I thank you very much. Emily, this is great on logistics and scheduling and bringing Craig in to board. And I got a lot out of this meeting. It was very, very good education.
I have
On
one
the
more
issues.
comment. Sorry.
No, as many as you
Cute.
want.
Also, just bringing Zoe in at some point in terms of communication to parents, giving folks a heads up. Again, there's going to be so much. Already there's a lot of talk and anxiety in town among parents about schools closing and, where their kids going and back and forth. And of course, that's to be expected. So having a strong communications plan in place well in advance too, I think will be an important part of what comes out of this work.
We agree. And Zoe, we will definitely utilize Zoe. She's definitely a key member of
Yeah.
our team, and she'll be totally involved. I know that Peter and Zoe have been communicating daily on the new school.
Okay.
So we definitely team up with Zoe to communicate what's going on. We appreciate the reminder on that, and we'll definitely do that.
Thank you.
No problem. Anything else, Emily?
I think I'm good for now.
Galen?
I'm good, thanks.
Mark?
I'm good. Thanks, Bill.
I know Pete's on taking it all in. Anything for you, Pete?
No, nothing for this meeting right now. I have some other questions that are really don't need to be talked about here, though.
Yes. No, we all have a lot of questions. Thanks, Pete. And I can't stress enough the happiness I feel for having Pete and Felicia and the team and the new construction manager who's coming on board July 1st. I think it's going to be a great transition, and I look forward to those guys. They're already taken on. I just can't hold myself when I'm at these meetings.
We understand.
Thanks. And so I guess we need a motion to adjourn there, Emily or Galen.
Galen, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yep, since there's no public comment, motion.
Okay.
I move that.
I'll second it. In favor?
Aye.
Okay. Meeting is adjourned, 8:42.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
We'll
you
see
all.
you on the 4th.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.